Hello, and welcome to another interview in the ACM-W at CCI series, celebrating Women's History Month, where we are talking with alumni and executives about their perspectives exploring the UN International Women's Day theme, Gender Equality for a Sustainable Tomorrow. My name is Nadia Najjar. I'm a faculty member at the College of Computing Informatics and ACM-W faculty advisor and a proud alumni. We are excited to welcome Reenie Askew, CIO for the City of Charlotte, where she oversees technology innovation, strategic planning, and critical operations. Reenie, welcome, and we appreciate you taking the time to participate in this series.
Thank you, and I appreciate you inviting me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Reenie. So thinking back about the theme, gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow, what does gender equality mean for you personally? And specifically as your role as an IT executive? And can you share some of how that has shaped your career and probably shapes the way that you think about the work you do?
I think it's a great question. Gender equality to me is, when we really don't have to ask the question about who someone is, what their gender is. It's really more about what is the work, what is their contribution to the environment, and less about gender. It's where we can be present, where we can be inclusive, and quite frankly, where we can be compensated appropriately. If you mind, I'd like to give you an example because I think it's often appropriate when you have an example. So, throughout my career, I've taken on various roles, and I recall one where I was an executive for an organization. And I came to find out, and I won't get into the details on how somebody shared this with me, but that I was compensated less than others, my male counterparts also on the executive team. I was a bit disturbed, very shocked at that point. And so I immediately updated my resume. I said, my skills are what they are, so I'm going to share what they are. So I updated my resume, shared that with the person that I reported to, and it took a little time. And the one point that he made to me is, one, he thanked me, but he also said that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for your career, and no one else would do that as well as you. And they made the change. Now, it really shouldn't come to that. And you hear in the media about all the various situations that occurs, and it happened to me. So what I'm very thoughtful about is making sure as I recruit, as I hire, that I'm looking for the best talent, but I'm compensating appropriately. I don't look to shortcut. I don't look to cheat people. And I think that was an experience and education that helped to shape me when I think about, treating people equally.
Wow, that's a really great point. It's just thinking about, being just compensated, properly and advocating for ourselves. I think we find, especially probably women in this field, find it a little bit hard and intimidating sometimes. But as you said, probably we're the best advocates for ourselves. But just, thank you for sharing that story. I think that's a great example and illustrates the point wonderfully. All right, so at the end of every semester, as you know, we have students that will be entering the workforce and considering all types of organization. And what type of advice would you give our students specifically to kind of, to look for in an employer, specifically about gender equality, and what should other IT leaders do to promote, further equity?
I think it's important on a couple of fronts. So I'm in technology. And the technology space, as you know, have less and less females graduating in that profession for various reasons. And so the first thing that I would initially say is look for an organization that is well represented, that is has a very diverse culture, that is looking for that gender equality. And sometimes it's not something that's spoken, because you don't look for people just because they are one gender versus another, but you look for the skills that they bring to the table. And I would say be confident in whatever organization you're applying for. Bring your A game, be confident in who you are, and don't compromise that because you are a female. I think that what we often do is, as females, we try to not to be intimidating by our experience, by our strength, by our voice, And I think that those are some of the things that make individuals who they are. And so bring those skills to the table. I think as employers, it's very important that we look for who are the best qualified individuals and be very intentional. Very recently, I had a conversation with a young man who, call him a young man because he's younger than me, who says he is a girl dad. I hadn't heard that term before. And he said he's a girl dad, and he wanted to make sure as he's hiring, and he's a manager, as he's hiring individuals, that he is intentional about interviewing everyone, whether it's male or female, even though the position is male dominated. He's not concerned about that. He says, as a girl dad, I want to be considerate of the females in this profession. And also in another conversation, still a girl dad, this person described to me that they were very intentional about wanting to understand what it's like for females in the workplace. And so I believe that education is what's starting to make a difference. The more questions we ask, the more we try to understand, the day in the life in someone else's shoes, really understanding the perspective from the female's point of view, female lens. I think it's critical. And as long as we are very myopic in our thinking and we don't think beyond who we are, and if we are a female thinking the male perspective, if we are a male thinking the female perspective, I think gender equality and being inclusive is when you don't have to ask those questions, that we flow in it, but we're not there yet. And I think since we're not there yet, we still need to have those conversations. And education is very key to us being able to have those conversations, be very open, and be very inclusive.
Absolutely. Yes, it's all starts, right? Like change has to start from, within, and definitely having that conversations and trying to put ourselves in other people's shoes. I think that's, tremendous. Sometimes it's hard, but probably conversations can facilitate that and give insight to that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's very hard. And I think it's very hard because, it's hard to think outside ourselves. But if we want to be, and I use the word intentional specifically because it is something that we have to be thoughtful in doing, but to have those conversations, to be willing to listen, to understand and take the experience that I had. If my boss, who was a male, just dismissed me, I probably would have gone to another organization, someone who was a place that was willing to listen to me. So we have to be willing to learn and be open to somebody else's perspective.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's very, very hard, and we typically kind of have these conversations within our own bubbles. So kind of crossing those boundaries and having conversations with the others on the other side of it, I think is important. So I think that's one of the kind of the challenges that I try to overcome with my students, and as a faculty advisor for ACM-W, trying even to bring that conversation between ACM-W and just ACM, right? It's like we shouldn't be having this conversation among themselves. We should bring the other side and try to enlighten them a little bit and kind of tell them how it feels, or try to show them a little bit of how it feels.
Absolutely.
All right. So back to kind of the sustainability part of the theme. And sustainability has been a consistent topic in many conversations among different domains and perspectives. And whether it's about climate change, social causes, or gender equality. So as we explored that theme from the UN for this the Year for Women's History Month, what does a sustainable tomorrow mean for you? And what action do you think we need to be taken personally or as an organization to get there?
When I think about sustainability and sustainability with respect to women, just think about the contributions. And if you look at the contributions of women in various sectors, whether it is related to climate change, whether it is related to, energy and all the various sectors, right? I think that if we, put our minds or look through that lens, let me say it that way, and the ability for us to recognize that the contribution of women in the various sectors, whether it be, in energy, whether it be in government, whatever it is, because even in government, when you're looking at sustainability in government, it's really about how do we create an environment in Charlotte, and I'll use the city of Charlotte as an example, where we're thinking about tomorrow and not just focused on today. So when you think about electric vehicles, when you think about, you know, just whether it be technology, 5G, and the various things are coming our way. When I think about sustainability, we have to think forward into how is all of that going to impact our environment? How is it going to impact our children, our grandchildren? And just be mindful of that. And so women, I see when women, because we are naturally nurturers, whether we have children or don't, when we are looking at whether it is inventing, whether we are working in a job, whether we are helping in an environment, whether we're in volunteerism, we're always thinking about the various layers and who is going to be impacted by the work that we do, who's going to be impacted by the things that we say. And so when I think about sustainability and gender equality, I'm thinking mainly about how we are just inclusive, how we get involved, how we are doing, inventing and doing various things that help our economy and help our ecosystem. And so Charlotte, NC Charlotte, when I think about some of what I've heard recently, and it was a great statistic that I heard about UNC Charlotte, and this is mainly the College of Computer and Informatics, has graduated more female and Hispanic students in North Carolina. And so when you think about sustainability and gender equality and sustainability, you have to have females that are educated and able to participate and be involved. It starts there at grassroots, right? And so part of what I see in terms of where we're going and what's going to happen next is just like what I see in the College of Computing and Informatics. Make space for people, be very intentional about learning, make sure that there's opportunity for growth, development, whether it be internship and other opportunities, such that people can, from the ground up, be involved. Create an environment within the organization where we have mentors that help some of those that are coming along be very successful in doing that. And so it is not just about sustainability from the environment, it's also sustainability in the workplace. And if I may say so, if you think about the last couple of years and the ground that we've lost with females in the workplace due to the pandemic, I think that is a travesty and will have a long-term impact on all of our sustainability efforts, because it is through having the inclusive and very diverse workplace are we able to make progress. And so that's a lot of what I'm seeing and what I'm concerned about, quite frankly. But it starts with creating space, creating opportunity, and then helping to nurture that ecosystem once it's established.
You know, we'll definitely keep trying, right? You know, it's not easy maintaining females and women in the field. Like you said, there's so many pulling kind of forces, and but we're proud of the change and that we've seen at CCI, and we're hopefully continuing to improve and kind of our throughput and our pipeline as well. And like you said, it's just kind of creating, making sure that they're part of a community. So that's kind of one of the things that we found, that our women, students, they really want to contribute. They want to feel that they're making, contributing something that makes a difference. So, and part of a community, part of, an organization that is actually like socially conscious and, diverse, because we feel like what's one of the things that we value is like diversity. Our diversity is our strength. So that's where all of the innovation, comes from. So for sure. All right, so as we all know, the hard work begins at home. So I know you gave us some great insight and advice for us as a college to continue, but is there anything more that we can at College of Computing and Informatics partner with the city and our community to achieve gender equality for a sustainable tomorrow?
We have some great relationships here at the city of Charlotte with UNC Charlotte, and I'm going to say specifically, I have great relationships with the College of Computing Informatics. My team also works with the data center and the urban design center. And the reason why that's important is because we have to stay connected with what's going on in the community. And those partnerships have allowed us to gain insights into whether it be programs that we need to implement across the city, understanding our environment a little bit better, but I believe that it's partnerships that we have in place. And just when I look at how we're planning for the future in Charlotte, whether it be around transportation, whether it be in establishing bike lanes and eco-friendly environments such that we can reduce the carbon footprint throughout Charlotte. Those things are very important to us, and we're very passionate about that. And so where we leverage the college is gaining some of that intelligence from the data science school, because there's a lot of information that we're able to capture and then leverage that with the other data sources that we have to provide us insight into what's actually going on in Charlotte. And so those are some of the ways that I know that is important for us to continue to partner, not just from the College of Computer and Informatics, where we are the recipients of some great students. We very recently hired a grad student from there, and we're excited about bringing her on board, but it's all the other information that we gain in the process.
Great. Well, we want, once again, thank you so much for the insight, taking the time to sit with us and have this conversation. It's really been, wonderful. And thank you for your continuous support, and we look forward to more conversations and collaboration with the City of Charlotte. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you.